Admiral Quan stood on the bridge of the Indomitable, watching the stars through the main viewport. The ship moved quietly through space near the Kepler 442 colony. It was supposed to be a routine patrol. Nothing special. Nothing dangerous. He had done this 100 times before. Then the sensors started screaming. "Admiral, we have contacts," the officer said, his voice tight. "Multiple contacts. Very large signatures." Quan moved to the display screen. What he saw made his blood run cold. Ships, hundreds of them. Maybe thousands. They filled the space ahead like a wall of metal and lights. These were not human ships. "Identify them," Quan ordered. "They're Concordat vessels, sir. The entire Second Peace Fleet. The Concordat. Everyone in the galaxy knew about them. They were the great alliance of alien species. Over 2,000 different races working together. They had kept peace in the galaxy for longer than humans had existed. They had rules. They had laws. And they had the biggest military force ever seen. A message came through. A face appeared on the screen. It was not human. The creature had 4 eyes and skin that looked like liquid silver. It spoke and the computer translated its words. "Human vessel, you will stand down and receive our message. This transmission goes to all human worlds." Quan felt his jaw tighten. "Put it through to Earth. Make sure President Hana sees this." The alien spoke again, and this time its message went everywhere. Every human colony. Every ship. Every settlement. The whole galaxy watched. "I am Supreme Chancellor Velen of the Galactic Concordat. For thousands of years we have maintained peace among the stars. We have ended wars. We have stopped suffering. We have brought order to chaos. All species who join us give up their weapons of war. They trust us to protect them. They trust us to keep peace." The alien paused. Its 4 eyes seemed to look directly at Quan. "Humanity, you are young. You are violent. Your history is filled with war. You fight each other. You build weapons. You glorify conflict. This cannot continue. The Concordat has decided. You have 30 days. Dismantle your military. Destroy your warships. Give us control of your defense. Join us in peace. If you refuse, we will enforce peace. This is not a request. This is the only option." The screen went dark. Quan stood very still. Around him, his crew looked shocked, afraid, angry. He knew how they felt. He felt the same way. "Get me a direct line to Earth Command," he said quietly. "Now." 3 days later, President Hana sat in the council chamber in Seoul. Around her were representatives from every human world. Military leaders, scientists, politicians, common citizens. Over 1,000 people, all here to make one decision. The most important decision humanity had ever made. Defense Minister Tay stood at the front. He had prepared a report. The numbers were not good. The Concordat has ships from over 2,000 species. They outnumber us by at least 200 to 1. Their technology is older than ours, which means it is more advanced in many ways. If we fight, we will lose. That is the simple truth. Silence filled the room, heavy and dark. Then Ambassador Yuna stood up. She was young, only 35, but she had spent 10 years talking with alien species. She knew them better than most humans. "They think we will surrender," she said. "They think we are like the other species they have conquered." "Yes, conquered. They call it peace, but what is peace without choice? What is safety without freedom? They want to take away our right to defend ourselves. They want to make us helpless, and they think we will thank them for it. But we will die if we fight," someone shouted from the back. "Maybe," Yuna said, "but we will die as free people. And maybe we will not die. Maybe we will surprise them." President Hana listened to hours of debate. She heard fear. She heard courage. She heard people ready to fight. She heard people ready to surrender. Finally, she stood. "Let us vote," she said simply. "All who believe we should accept the Concordat's terms. Stand." 153 people stood. "All who believe we should refuse. Stand." 847 people stood. The decision was made. President Hana recorded a message. She looked directly into the camera, knowing the whole galaxy would see this, knowing that her words would either save humanity or doom it. "Concordat, we have heard your offer. We reject it. Humanity has spent its entire history fighting. Fighting nature, fighting disease, fighting each other. We learned to survive in the hardest ways possible. We climbed out of our gravity well through blood and determination. We reached the stars because we refused to give up. And now you want us to give up our right to defend ourselves. You want us to trust you with our survival. We say no, we will keep our weapons. We will keep our ships. We will keep our freedom. If you want to take it from us, you will have to try. But know this, we will make you regret it. Ambassador Yuna delivered the message personally. She took a small shuttle to the Concordat fleet. They allowed her to board their flagship. She walked through corridors filled with aliens from 100 different worlds. They looked at her with confusion, with pity, with contempt. She found Supreme Chancellor Velen in a chamber filled with holograms and lights. "You are making a mistake," Velen said. "We do not want to hurt you. We want to save you from yourselves." "We do not need saving," Yuna replied. She placed a data chip on the table between them. "This contains our formal response. I suggest you read it carefully." She turned to leave. Velen's voice stopped her. "You will not win. You cannot win." Yuna looked back. She smiled, but it was not a happy smile. "You are probably right, but we will make you remember us. Every species you have conquered did it peacefully. They welcomed you. They trusted you. We will be different. We will be the ones who fought, and that will change everything." She left the ship and returned to human space. Admiral Quan watched from the Indomitable as Concordat ships began to move. They were positioning themselves around human territory, creating blockades, preparing for war. His communications officer spoke quietly. "Sir, message from all fleet captains. They want to know what we do now." Quan thought about his daughter back on Earth. She was only 7 years old. He might never see her again. The Concordat might kill them all. But she would grow up knowing her father did not kneel. "Tell all ships to prepare for combat operations. Tell them to be ready for anything. And tell them that we make the Concordat pay for every inch they take. We might be outnumbered. We might die. But we die fighting." Around him, his crew began to work. Weapons systems powered up. Shields activated. The ship moved into position. In space, the Concordat fleet moved closer. War was coming. Everyone knew it. The galaxy held its breath, waiting to see what would happen when an unstoppable force met a species too stubborn to move. Humanity had made its choice. Now they would live with it or die with it. Either way, they would do it standing. 3 months had passed since humanity said no. The Concordat had not attacked with full force. Instead, they did something worse. They surrounded human worlds like a slow-moving trap. They stopped supply ships. They blocked trade routes. They landed peacekeeping forces on colonies and called it protection. Captain Day commanded a small group of frigates near the outer colonies. His ships were old and barely armed compared to Concordat vessels. But he had something they did not expect. He had anger, and he had a plan. "Target the supply convoy," he told his crew. "We hit fast and disappear." The Concordat convoy moved through space like it owned everything. 6 transport ships carrying supplies to their occupation forces. Only 2 escort ships. They felt safe. They thought humans would fight fair, like civilized species. They were wrong. Day's frigates appeared from behind an asteroid. They fired everything at once, missiles, railguns, even old chemical explosives. The escort ships tried to respond, but human weapons were different, primitive. The Concordat shields were designed to stop energy weapons. They barely slowed down the metal slugs from railguns. 2 transport ships exploded. The escorts turned to fight, but Day's ships were already moving. They dove back into the asteroid field, disappearing among the rocks and dust. The Concordat ships did not follow. Their sensors could not track well in the debris. Their commanders did not understand this type of fighting. War was supposed to have rules, formations, honor. Day smiled as his ships escaped. "Send the recording to every human vessel. Show them it works. Hit and run. Make them afraid of every shadow." On New Busan Colony, the Concordat had landed peacekeeping forces 2 weeks ago. They put up checkpoints. They scanned everyone. They said it was for protection. They said humans needed to be kept safe from their own violent government. Colonel Minji watched from a building window as Concordat soldiers walked through the streets. They looked relaxed, confident. They carried weapons, but they held them casually. They had never fought an insurgency before. "Are the charges ready?" she asked. "Ready, Colonel. Everyone knows their positions." The Concordat had called a meeting. They wanted to confiscate all civilian weapons. Over 5,000 colonists gathered in the main square. The Concordat commander stood on a platform, speaking through a translator. "Your weapons are unnecessary. We protect you now. Turn them in peacefully." Minji stepped forward from the crowd. She looked small next to the alien soldiers. They barely noticed her. "We would like to discuss this," she said calmly. "Perhaps we could talk about compromise." The Concordat commander nodded. "Of course. The Concordat always seeks peaceful solutions." Minji raised her hand. It was a signal. Explosions ripped through the square. Not near the civilians, near the Concordat forces. Buildings collapsed on their positions. Prepared charges detonated under their vehicles. Human civilians pulled out hidden weapons and opened fire. The battle lasted 6 minutes. The Concordat forces had better equipment, but they were confused. Shocked. They had not expected resistance from protected populations. They tried to retreat to their ships. Minji's forces were waiting there too. By the end, the Concordat peacekeepers were running for orbit. Minji stood in the square looking at the damage. They had lost people. Good people, but they had won. "Send a message to every human colony," she ordered. "Tell them what we did. Tell them to fight." Across human space, the message spread. Colonies rose up. Civilians attacked occupation forces. The Concordat had expected to protect helpless populations. Instead, they found themselves fighting everyone. Chief Engineer Sung worked in a secret facility deep inside an asteroid. He had been studying captured Concordat equipment for months. The Concordat had better shields, better engines, better everything, but they had one weakness. Their shields are too specialized, he explained to the military officers watching his presentation. They have fought the same way for thousands of years. Energy weapons only. Their shields are perfect against lasers and plasma, but kinetic weapons go right through. "We already use some kinetic weapons," an officer said. "Not enough. And not the right kind." Sung pulled up a display. "I want to build weapons the galaxy forgot. Railguns, coil guns, missiles with nuclear warheads. Even simple bullets fired fast enough. Things they think are primitive. Will it work? It already is. Captain Day proved it. Now we need to do it on a bigger scale." The military approved his plans. Factories across human space began retooling. Instead of trying to match Concordat technology, they went backwards. They built weapons their ancestors would recognize. Weapons that were simple, brutal, and effective. Admiral Kwan received the new weapons 3 weeks later. His fleet was hiding in the debris field around Earth's old solar mining operations. The Concordat knew they were there. They were sending a fleet to eliminate them. "How many ships?" Kwan asked. 20 Concordat vessels. 3 of them are dreadnoughts." Kwan looked at his own force. 15 ships, smaller, weaker. He should retreat. Any reasonable commander would retreat. But Kwan had a plan. "Take us into the debris field. Use the sun's gravity to mask our heat signatures. Deploy the mines. All of them." His crew worked quickly. The Concordat fleet arrived in formation. Perfect lines, beautiful coordination. They moved into the debris field confidently. Then everything went wrong for them. Human ships appeared from multiple directions. Not attacking, just moving. The Concordat fleet tried to adjust, but the debris field made their sensors fuzzy. The sun's magnetic field disrupted their communications. The first Concordat ship hit a mine, then another. The mines were simple, just metal containers filled with explosives and ball bearings. Primitive, but deadly in the enclosed space of the debris field. Kwan's ships opened fire. Railguns tore through Concordat shields. Missiles struck hulls. Nuclear warheads detonated at close range. The Concordat fleet tried to fight back, but their perfect formation was broken. In the chaos of the debris field, their superior numbers meant nothing. Ships collided with asteroids. Explosions triggered chain reactions. 3 Concordat dreadnoughts died in that field. 5 smaller ships were destroyed. The rest retreated. Kwan's fleet had lost 4 ships. Over 2,000 human lives. The victory was costly, but it was a victory. "Broadcast what happened here," Kwan ordered. "Make sure every species in the galaxy sees it. Make sure they know we can win." The recording spread across the galaxy. Alien species watched in shock. The Concordat was supposed to be invincible. They had kept peace for millennia. They had never lost a major battle, but they had never fought humans before. In the Concordat capital, Supreme Chancellor Velen watched the recordings. He saw his ships burning. He saw his forces retreating. He saw humans fighting with weapons that should not work in modern warfare. "They are barbarians," one of his advisors said. "They use nuclear weapons. They use kinetic weapons. They plant mines. They fight without honor." Velen was quiet for a long time. Then he spoke. They fight to win. We have forgotten how to do that. We have fought small wars against species that did not really fight back. We have kept peace for so long that we forgot the cost of war. What do? We mobilize the full war fleets. We show them what real power looks like. We end this quickly before they inspire others to resist. Orders went out across Concordat space. Ships began to gather. Millions of soldiers prepared for deployment. The Concordat was done being gentle. Now they would crush humanity completely. On Earth, President Hanna received intelligence about the Concordat mobilization. The numbers were terrifying. More ships than humans had ever seen. Enough firepower to glass entire planets. Can we win? She asked her military advisors. Defense Minister Tay shook his head. Not in a straight fight. But we are not fighting straight. We are making them pay for every inch. We are showing the galaxy that the Concordat can bleed. That might be enough. Enough for what? Enough to change things. Enough to make other species question the Concordat. Enough to survive until they break themselves trying to break us. Hanna looked out at Earth from her office window. The planet had survived so much. Ice ages, asteroids, wars, climate disasters. Humanity had always survived by being too stubborn to die. Then we keep fighting. We make them remember us, and we pray it is enough. In hidden shipyards across human space, new weapons were being built. New ships were being constructed. New plans were being made. Humanity was outnumbered and outgunned, but humanity had never known how to quit. 1 year of war. 12 colonies lost, 11 billion humans dead. Earth had been bombarded from orbit twice. Cities were ruins. Families were destroyed. Hope was becoming a rare thing, but humanity had not surrendered. Commander Nari stood in the control room of Tycho Colony. Outside, through the reinforced windows, she could see Concordat ships moving into position. They had been fighting for 3 days. Now the colony was lost. Everyone knew it. Commander, they are demanding we surrender the shipyards intact, her second officer said. They say they will spare the civilian population if we comply. Nari looked at the shipyards. They were the most advanced human facilities in this sector. If the Concordat took them, they would use them to build more ships. Ships that would kill more humans. Evacuate all personnel, she ordered. Everyone on the transports now. What about the shipyards? I will handle that personally. 30 minutes later, the last transport left Tycho. Nari stood alone in the facility control center. She accessed the fusion reactors. The safety systems tried to stop her. She overrode them all. For humanity, she whispered, and pushed the final command. The reactors went critical, all of them at once. Nari closed her eyes. Tycho Colony became a small star for exactly 3 seconds. When the light faded, there was nothing left. No shipyards, no facilities, no colony. Just debris and radiation. The Concordat fleet stopped, shocked. They had won the battle but gained nothing but ashes. Across human space, the message spread. Deny them everything. If a colony falls, burn it. If a ship is captured, destroy it. Give the enemy nothing they can use. The Concordat had never seen warfare like this. On Mars, General Minho commanded the defense of the underground cities. The Concordat had surrounded the planet 6 months ago. They cut off all supply lines. No food came in, no medicine, no reinforcements. They expected surrender within weeks. They did not understand human stubbornness. Minho walked through the underground tunnels. People looked thin, hungry, but they were still alive, still fighting. How long can we last? He asked the supply officer. Another 4 months, maybe 5 if we reduce rations again. We are growing algae in the lower levels, recycling everything. People are taking turns in hibernation pods to conserve food and oxygen. And our defenses? Ready. The Concordat thinks we are weak. When they land, they will learn differently. The Concordat forces landed 3 weeks later. 10,000 soldiers. They wore full combat armor. They expected to fight a weakened, starving enemy. The first wave stepped into kill zones that had been prepared for months. Explosives hidden in walls. Guns positioned in every corridor. Soldiers who had been waiting for this moment. The underground cities became a meat grinder. Concordat forces tried to push forward. Every tunnel was a death trap. Every room was fortified. The humans fought with a desperation the Concordat had never encountered. These were people defending their homes, their families, their last piece of Mars. The battle lasted 2 weeks. The Concordat lost 6,000 soldiers. They retreated to orbit, shocked and broken. General Minho stood in the command center, looking at the casualty reports. Mars had lost 3,000 defenders, but they had won. They had held. Send a message to all human forces, he ordered. Tell them Mars stands. Tell them we can win by making victory too expensive. In a secret laboratory deep inside an asteroid, Dr. Sora looked at her work. She felt sick. What she had created was terrible. Evil, by any moral standard. Bioweapons. Diseases designed to target specific alien species. Viruses that would kill Concordate soldiers but leave humans untouched. President Hana had come personally to see her work. Will it work? Hana asked. Yes, it will kill millions of them. Maybe billions. Sora could not look at the president. It is a war crime. Every species in the galaxy will condemn us. And if we do not use it, we will lose. They will exterminate us or enslave us. Those are the only two outcomes. Hana was quiet for a long time. She looked tired. A year of war had aged her 10 years. She carried the weight of billions of lives on her shoulders. The Concordate gave us a choice, Hana said finally. Surrender our freedom or die. They forced this war. They chose to try and conquer us. Every death in this war, human or alien, is their fault, not ours. So we use the weapons, we use them. We survive. We can feel guilty about it later if there is a later. Deploy the weapons to 6 occupied worlds. Target only their military forces where possible. But if civilians die, Hana's voice broke slightly. If civilians die, that is on the Concordate, not on us. They started this. 2 weeks later, Concordate occupation forces on 6 human worlds began to die. The plague spread fast. Their medical technology could not stop it. Soldiers collapsed. Ships had to quarantine. Whole units became ineffective. The galaxy watched in horror. Humans had used bioweapons. Species across the Concordate began calling for humanity's complete destruction. They said humans were monsters, barbarians, too dangerous to exist. Ambassador Yuna had been captured 4 months ago. The Concordate held her in a comfortable prison. They treated her well, hoping she would convince humanity to surrender. Now they released her with a message. She stood before Supreme Chancellor Velen. We will accept humanity's surrender with mercy, Velen said. No more colonies will be destroyed. Your people will live under our protection. All we ask is that you submit to our authority. And if we refuse, then we will destroy Earth. We will hunt every human in the galaxy. Your species will cease to exist. We did not want this. You forced us to it. Yuna looked at the ancient being before her. She felt no fear, only pity. You still do not understand us, she said. You think we fight because we are violent, because we are primitive. You think we will surrender because the alternative is death. But you are wrong. We fight because freedom matters more than life. We fight because we would rather die standing than live kneeling, and we will never ever surrender. She paused, then continued. You wanted me to carry your offer to my people. I will. But I will also tell them something else. I will tell them that the Concordate is afraid. You would not offer mercy if you were winning. You would not negotiate if you thought you could simply crush us. You are starting to break, and we are going to push harder. The Concordate broadcast her statement across the galaxy. They thought it would make humans seem unreasonable, crazy, suicidal. Instead, something unexpected happened. Species across the galaxy began to ask questions. If the mighty Concordate was offering terms to humanity, what did that mean? If humans could resist for a year, could others? If humanity would rather die than submit, what did that say about the Concordate's peace? Intelligence Officer Juan brought the reports to President Hana. The Concordate is not unified, he explained. Several species are unhappy with the war. Some have never fought a real war in thousands of years. Their populations are traumatized by the casualties. There are protests on 17 Concordate worlds. 3 species have privately contacted us saying they disagree with this war. Can we use this? Yes, if we can make the war expensive enough, long enough, the Concordate might fracture. Some species might leave. Others might refuse to fight. We can't beat them militarily, but we might be able to break them politically. Hana felt something she had not felt in months. Hope. Then we have a new strategy. We keep fighting. We make every battle cost them dearly, and we reach out to every species that has doubts. We show them that the Concordate's peace is really just control. We make them question everything. The war entered a new phase. Humanity fought on not just to survive, but to win. not by destroying the Concordate's military, but by destroying their unity. Admiral Quan prepared his fleet for the next battle. They were outnumbered as always, outgunned as always, but now they had something new. They had allies, small groups, secret supporters, species that sent intelligence, species that looked the other way when human ships needed to pass through their space, species that were starting to believe that maybe, just maybe, humanity was right. The war was far from over. Earth was scarred. Millions were dead. The cost had been terrible, but humanity was still standing, still fighting, still free, and across the galaxy the ancient structure of the Concordate was beginning to crack. 2 years of war. Humanity held 31 of its original 47 systems. But the Concordate had lost more ships in this conflict than in the previous 1,000 years combined. And something was changing in the galaxy. Ambassador Una sat in a secret meeting room on a neutral station. Across from her was Ambassador Therian, representing one of the Concordate's founding species. The Therians were traders, peaceful by nature. They had been in the Concordate for over 4,000 years. "Why did you contact me?" Una asked carefully. The Therian's translator made soft clicking sounds. "Because this war is wrong. My people have lost 300,000 trade ships to your raiders. We have suffered greatly. But we have also seen what the Concordate is becoming. They use weapons we have never used before. They destroy entire colonies. They talk about exterminating your species. Is this peace?" "No," Una said simply. "This is what happens when peace is forced. When species are not allowed to choose their own path. Many of us are beginning to see this. But we are afraid. The Concordate is all we have known. Without it, there might be chaos. War everywhere." Una leaned forward. "Or there might be real peace. Not enforced silence, but actual agreement between free peoples. You don't need the Concordate to have peace. You just need respect for each other's choices." The Therian was quiet for a long time. "I cannot speak for my entire species, but I will carry your words back. And I will tell them what I have seen. Perhaps some will listen. It was a small crack. But small cracks could grow." Admiral Quan stood on the bridge of his flagship. He had just received intelligence that a Concordate fleet was approaching. But this time, something was different. "Sir, we are receiving a transmission. It's from 3 of the Concordate ships. They are asking to speak with you privately." Quan's eyes narrowed. "It could be a trap." "Yes, sir. But if it's not," Quan made his decision. "Put them through. But keep weapons ready." 3 alien faces appeared on the screen. Species Quan did not recognize. They looked nervous. "Admiral Quan, we do not have much time. We are part of the Concordate fleet, but we no longer believe in this war. Our species were conquered by the Concordate 500 years ago. We were told it was for peace, but we lost our freedom, our right to defend ourselves. Now we see you fighting for the same things we lost. We want to help. Why should I trust you? We are sending you our fleet positions, our communication codes, information about the Concordate's next attack. We cannot fight openly with you, not yet, but we can help from the shadows." Quan looked at the data coming through. It was genuine. Real intelligence about Concordate movements. "If the Concordate discovers what you are doing, they will destroy you," Quan said. "We know, but we would rather die helping you than live serving them. At least your fight has meaning." The transmission ended. Quan stood very still, processing what had just happened. The Concordate was fracturing from within. Species were defecting. Not many, not yet, but it was starting. "Alert President Hana. Tell her the diplomatic strategy is working. The Concordate is breaking." General Minho reviewed the plans for Operation Wildfire one last time. It was insane, suicidal, brilliant. "You want to attack a Concordate core world?" Defense Minister Tay asked. "Not an outpost. Not a colony. One of their home systems? Yes, we don't need to conquer it. We just need to prove we can reach it. For thousands of years, Concordate core worlds have been safe. Their populations have never felt threatened in their own space. We change that, we change everything. How many ships? 50, our fastest. We go in, destroy their orbital infrastructure, and get out before their main fleets can respond. We will lose ships, good crews. Yes, but we will achieve something more valuable. We will make the Concordate afraid." The operation launched 3 weeks later. 50 human ships using captured Concordate identification codes penetrated deep into Concordate space. They passed through 3 security checkpoints. By the time the Concordate realized what was happening, human ships were already in orbit around the planet Velkar. A Concordat core world with a population of 12 billion Minho stood on the bridge of the lead ship. Target only military and infrastructure, no civilian centers. We are not here to kill innocents. We are here to send a message. Human weapons opened fire. Orbital defense platforms exploded. Military shipyards burned. Communication satellites went dark. In 30 minutes, humanity caused more damage to a Concordat core world than had been seen in 1,000 years. Then the human fleet ran. Concordat response fleets scrambled, but the humans were already jumping away. They lost 8 ships in the escape, but 42 made it back to human space. The damage to Velkar was repaired within months. But the psychological damage to the Concordat was permanent. If humans could reach one core world, they could reach others. Nowhere was safe anymore. Panic spread through Concordat civilian populations. Protests grew larger. Demands for peace became louder. The Concordat government split into 2 factions. The hardliners demanded total human extermination. The moderates wanted negotiation. 16 species declared neutrality and left the Concordat entirely, saying they wanted no part in this war anymore. The galaxy's ancient power structure was collapsing. Intelligence Officer Juan brought the latest reports to the War Council. 40 Concordat species have secretly contacted us. They want to negotiate. Not surrender terms, but actual peace. Equal terms. They say they are willing to recognize human sovereignty and our right to maintain our military. President Hana felt tears in her eyes. After 2 years of death and destruction, there was finally hope. What about the hardliners? They still command 800 species and most of the military. They refuse any negotiation. They're planning one final assault. Everything they have left. They want to attack Earth directly. End this war by destroying our homeworld. The room went silent. How long until they are ready? Hana asked. 3 months? Maybe less. They are gathering the largest fleet ever assembled. Over 10,000 ships, and can we stop them? No, not with military force. Even with our new allies, we are still outnumbered 50 to 1. If they reach Earth, Hana stood up. Then we have 3 months to win this war. Not with weapons, but with words. We need to reach every species in the galaxy. Show them what this war really is. Show them that the Concordat's peace was always a lie. We need to break their unity completely. Ambassador Yuna began the greatest diplomatic campaign in human history. She sent messages to every species. She released footage of the war. Not propaganda, but truth. Human cities burning. Concordat soldiers dying. The cost of forced peace. She asked one simple question. Is this worth it? Is forcing obedience worth this much death? Species across the galaxy watched. They saw humans fighting desperately for freedom. They saw the Concordat using tactics they had never used before. They saw an empire built on peace becoming an engine of war, and many of them began to say no. No more, this is wrong. More species left the Concordat, more declared neutrality. Some even offered quiet support to humanity, but the hardliners were determined. They kept gathering their fleet. They kept preparing for the final assault. They believed that once Earth fell, the other species would fall back in line. Order would be restored. President Hana received a secret message. It was from a coalition of 40 species, former Concordat members who now supported humanity's cause. We cannot fight openly with you. Our militaries are weak and the hardliners would destroy us. But we want you to know you are not alone. You have changed the galaxy. Win or lose this next battle, nothing will ever be the same. The Concordat is finished. The age of forced peace is over. You have proven that free species cannot be conquered, only destroyed, and most of us do not want to be destroyers. Hana read the message to her war council. So this is it. The final battle. Everything we have against everything they have left. If we win, we change the galaxy forever. If we lose, at least we die free. Admiral Kwan prepared the human fleet. Every ship they had left, every weapon, every soldier, they would make their stand at Earth, where humanity began and where it might end. Are you afraid? His second officer asked. Kwan looked at Earth through the viewport. His daughter was down there, now 9 years old. She had grown up in war, but she had grown up free. Yes, he said honestly, but fear is fine. Fear means we understand what we are fighting for. We go into this battle knowing we might die, but we also know that our deaths will mean something. The galaxy is changing because of us. Let's finish what we started. The Concordat hardline fleet began to move. 10,000 ships, more than had ever been gathered in one place. Enough firepower to crack a planet. They were coming for Earth, and humanity was ready to face them. 3 years of war came down to this moment. The largest fleet in galactic history approached Earth. 10,000 concorded ships representing 800 species who refused to accept that their age of control was over. They came to end the human resistance once and for all. Admiral Kwan stood on the bridge of the Indomitable looking at the display. His fleet looked tiny in comparison. 200 human ships, 40 ships from allied species who had defected from the Concordat, against 10,000. Those are bad odds, his tactical officer said quietly. We have faced bad odds before, Kwan replied, and we are still here. The Concordat fleet came to a stop at the edge of the solar system. A message came through. Supreme Chancellor Velen's face appeared on every screen. Humanity, this is your final chance. Surrender now. We will allow your species to survive under our guidance. Refuse and we will destroy Earth, every city, every person. Your species will be erased from existence. You have 1 hour to decide. President Hanna watched the message from the war room deep under Seoul. Around her were the military leaders, the diplomats, the scientists, the people who had fought for 3 years to keep humanity free. Should I respond? She asked. No, Ambassador Yuna said. Let our actions speak for us. Hanna nodded. Admiral Kwan, you have command. Do what must be done. The human fleet moved into position, not running, not hiding, moving forward to meet the enemy. On Earth's surface, General Minho commanded ground forces across all continents. If the Concordat broke through in space, they would land here. Every city had been prepared. Every citizen who could fight had been armed. Earth would not fall easily. In orbit around the moon, Chief Engineer Sung activated the final weapon, the one they had built in secret over 3 years, the gravitational pulse generator, built into the moon itself. It was not elegant. It was not honorable. It was a doomsday weapon. Sung sent a message to the Concordat fleet. This weapon can tear apart any ship in this solar system, including our own. You have 1 hour to leave. If you attack, we activate it. Everyone dies. Your choice. In the Concordat flagship, Supreme Chancellor Velen looked at his advisors. It is a bluff, one said. They would not destroy themselves, would they not? Another asked. Have you learned nothing about humans in 3 years? Velen was old. He had lived for 800 years. He had seen the Concordat grow from a small alliance to the greatest power in the galaxy. He had believed, truly believed, that they brought peace and order to chaos. Now he wondered if they had just brought control and called it peace. We proceed with the attack, he ordered. If they activate the weapon, they prove they are too dangerous to exist. If they do not, we win. Either way, this ends today. The Concordat fleet moved forward. Commander Nari led a strike team on a desperate mission. While the fleets prepared to fight, her team used a captured Concordat shuttle to approach the enemy flagship. They had one goal: reach Supreme Chancellor Velen and force him to see the truth. It was suicide. Everyone on the team knew it. But if they could just make him understand, maybe they could stop this final battle. They docked with the flagship during the confusion of fleet movements. They fought through corridors. 5 team members died in the first minutes, then 10 more. Nari kept moving forward, firing her weapon, always moving toward the command center. By the time she reached Velen, only 3 of her team remained alive. Velen looked at the human soldiers bursting into his command center. He could have had them killed immediately, but he was curious. Why are you here? He asked. Nari was bleeding from 3 wounds. She held her weapon but did not raise it. To show you the truth, to make you see what you were doing. She activated a holographic display. It showed footage from across the galaxy, species celebrating human resistance, populations rioting against the war, the Concordat fracturing, the Empire crumbling. You have already lost, Nari said. Not this battle, but the war. The war for the galaxy's future. The age of forced peace is over. You can destroy Earth today. You can kill every human. But you cannot stop what we started. Species across the galaxy have seen that it is possible to resist, possible to stay free. You kill us and you prove we were right. You prove that your peace was always just control backed by threats. Velen stared at the images. He saw his empire falling apart. He saw species leaving. He saw the cost of this war written in blood and fire. We wanted to help you, he said quietly. To save you from yourselves. We did not need saving. We needed respect. The right to choose our own path. Alarms began blaring. The battle had started. Through the viewport, Velen could see human ships engaging his fleet. Small ships weaving between larger ones, using tactics no civilized species would use. Fighting dirty, fighting desperately, fighting free. You could have been part of something great, Velen said. Part of galactic peace. We will be, Nari replied. But on our terms. As equals, not subjects. On the indomitable, Admiral Quan watched the battle unfold. The Concordat had numbers and power, but humans had desperation and the home field advantage. They used the sun's gravity. They used orbital debris. They used every trick they had learned in 3 years of war. Allied ships fought beside them. Species that had left the Concordat to support humanity's right to exist. It was not enough to win, but it was enough to make the battle close. Admiral, the weapon is charged, Sung reported from the moon. On your order, we can activate it. Quan looked at the tactical display. If they used the weapon, everyone died. Every human ship. Every Concordat ship. But Earth would survive, and the Concordat would know that humans meant what they said. Hold position. Do not fire yet. On Earth, Quan's daughter watched the sky. She was 9 years old, and she understood that her father was up there fighting, maybe dying. She held her mother's hand and whispered a prayer to a universe that did not care about prayers, but maybe it cared about courage. In the Concordat flagship, Commander Nari watched Supreme Chancellor Velen. The old being stared at the battle displays, watched his ships dying, watched humans fighting with impossible determination. Why do you fight so hard? He asked. You cannot win. Because freedom is worth more than life. Because our children deserve to grow up making their own choices. Because if we surrender, what are we teaching them? That it is better to live on your knees than die on your feet? No. We teach them that some things are worth fighting for. Velen thought about his own species. They had joined the Concordat 4,000 years ago. They had given up their military, given up their sovereignty, for peace, for safety. Had they lost something important? Had they forgotten what it meant to be truly free? If I order a ceasefire, he said slowly, my own people might remove me from power. The hardliners will not accept peace with humans. Then the hardliners have already lost, because the galaxy is changing with or without them. You can be part of that change, or you can die fighting against it. Velen made his decision. He was 800 years old. He had spent his entire life serving the Concordat, but maybe it was time for something new. Cease fire, he ordered. All ships cease fire immediately. His command staff looked at him in shock. Some protested, but Velen's authority still held. The Concordat fleet stopped shooting. Admiral Quan watched in disbelief as the enemy ships powered down their weapons. Sir, they have stopped. What do we do? Hold fire. Let's see what happens. Velen's face appeared on every screen. Humanity, I'm calling a ceasefire, not a surrender. Not your surrender. A true ceasefire. I want to negotiate. Real negotiations. As equals. President Hana took over the communication. Why should we trust you? Because I am tired. Because this war has taught me that forced peace is no peace at all. Because you were right. We called it peace, but it was control. We thought we were helping species by protecting them. Instead, we were taking away their right to choose. You have shown the galaxy that some species will choose freedom over safety, and that is their right. The solar system held its breath. 2 fleets, weapons ready, watching each other. I accept your ceasefire, Hana said carefully. We will talk. But the moment you betray this, we activate the weapon. Everyone dies. Understood? Understood. 6 months later, representatives from over 2,000 species gathered at a station near Earth, not as the Concordat. That was dead. As the Galactic Commonwealth, a new alliance built on new principles, voluntary membership, maintained sovereignty, the right to self-defense, real peace negotiated between free peoples. Not everyone agreed. Some Concordat hardliners refused to accept the change. They broke away, forming their own isolated alliance. But they were a minority now. Admiral Quan stood on the observation deck watching the ships arrive. So many species, so many different forms of life, all here because humanity had refused to bow. Ambassador Yuna joined him. We paid a terrible price. 11 billion dead, 16 colonies lost, Earth itself scarred. I know, Quan said quietly. I think about them every day. Every person we lost, Every ship that did not come home. Was it worth it? Quan thought about his daughter, now 10 years old. She was learning about the war in school, learning about what freedom cost, learning that sometimes the right choice is the hard choice. Yes, not because of what we gained, but because of what we proved. That forced peace is just slavery with better words.